So hello everyone, my name is Patricia. I'm the marketing manager of the Yoga Loft in Cabarete. And yeah, we use this Corona sheltered time to bring our community online. And yeah, today I'm speaking to Tianna Tye. Did I pronounce that your last name correctly? I know I've been asking that
You
before.
did.
I'm so sorry, Tianna. I'm so sorry.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, all these little things where you are like, I prepared so well for this, didn't I? Okay.
hmm
And Tianna is a industrial organizational psychologist, and I hand over the introduction directly to you, Tianna. So glad to have you here. Hi.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Like, seriously, being a part of things like this is what honestly lights me up. So I'm just really excited to be chatting with you today. But like you mentioned, my name is Tianna Tye. I am an industrial organizational psychologist. So that's a really big title to essentially mean that I've spent my career studying kind of the psychology side of things and the business side of things. And IO psychologists, we specialize in the intersection of how humans behave at work. So we're actually one of the only disciplines that specifically is looking into human behavior in the workplace with the goal of making everybody's businesses just function a lot better, not only from a business perspective, but also from the employee's perspective, because what employee wants to have a terrible job, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I have spent my career doing. And in the online space, that's led me specifically to coaching leaders and working with teams, especially virtual teams. And I know that that's a topic that is super relevant right now.
Exactly.
Like crazy relevant.
Crazy
Yeah. So
relevant. Yeah.
with everything going on, I actually feel very uniquely positioned and honestly uniquely blessed that not only has my career been honestly probably about 80% virtual my entire career. I've always happened to land in jobs where I have a pretty flexible work arrangement. But also, this was literally my master's thesis, is
Mhm.
virtual leadership and how to manage a team in the online space. So I'm just totally happy to be here with you today and just kind of chat with you and see where the conversation takes us, because we're trying to serve the people with good information that they can actually
Exactly,
use, right?
exactly. And what you mentioned is really so much on point. Yeah, all your entire expertise, because a lot of yoga teachers in our audience bring their classes online now, right? Because studios are closed,
Mhm.
the retreats they wanted to bring just don't happen anymore. So could you share some info around what tasks could be outsourced to make especially lives of yoga teachers easier, more productive, to generate more revenue in the end then as well?
I love that question. Okay, so bear with me because I could really go on about this one. But so and I'll think about this from the perspective of a yoga teacher in particular. So let's put ourselves in their shoes. A lot of what could be happening right now is, this may be your first experience hosting a totally online, program. It may be your first experience having to really dive into the marketing aspect of it and generating new leads, even virtually. There's a lot more content that's typically required of virtual businesses when we don't have kind of that in-person, the in-person interaction is magical, especially in a yoga studio. Like, I've been to enough to know that it matters,
Yeah.
and the environment that you all create matters. So like figuring out how to translate that into the online space, I can imagine would be really difficult. And even if you're uniquely skilled, right? And you're just like, you've got an eye and you're like, I know how to bring this vibe online, I got this. It's still a really heavy workload, especially if you're not used to it, right? So if I'm putting myself in those shoes and I'm thinking about the types of things that you may want to outsource, just off of the top of my mind, I'm thinking, social media management, content writing, whether that's a blog or if you're doing virtual summits or, just all of the content that the internet just consumes, right? There's so much of it that we need. I can also think about VAs, particularly a VA who's really good at kind of that client interaction that has to be handled totally digitally now, everything from bookings and scheduling and all of those good things. So just off the top of my mind, there's a lot of things that can be outsourced. But when I speak to entrepreneurs of all online businesses, not just yoga studios, one of the things that I really try to get them to key into is understanding which role or which tasks that they can outsource are really going to move the needle in their business, right? So a VA, that may help you clean up your email inbox and maybe like get some scheduling handled, right? That's amazing. Now, a content creator or a marketing strategist may help bring a totally new audience into your business if you already have like your online classes set up. So, outsourcing something like that could potentially make more sense for you if what you're really in need of right now is something that's going to help you generate revenue in your business. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes
So,
totally
it's
sense.
yeah, it's kind of that fine line between, because we all get overwhelmed and we're like, somebody just come in and help me, right? Like, I need a VA right now. But sometimes, just depending on where you're at and what your goals are, it could make more sense for you to outsource something that really is going to move the needle in a different way.
Yeah.
One of the things that I actually recommend people do, and I'll make sure to provide you with this resource because it
Oh,
just popped in
great.
my head.
Great. Yeah.
Yes. So I have a resource for this, and it's called a daily work log. And what the daily work log is great for is if you're not clear, this is for people who aren't clear on what they should outsource, right? They know they need help
Yeah.
and they know that they could, but they're just not sure on like, okay, but who do I need to bring in like right now, right? So the resource is a daily work log, and it's pretty simple. Essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to kind of monitor yourself for a few days, and you're going to outline all of the tasks that you're doing and the tasks that like aren't getting done, but they're sitting on your to-do list, right? And then you're going to outline, has this process been streamlined for efficiency? Can I automate this process? Because maybe you don't need to hire. Maybe what you need to do is just get some technical support and get, let's say it's like a schedule, right? Maybe instead of hiring a VA to do all of your scheduling for you as a human, you can have some technical support set up something like Acuity or a Calendly automated system to where you could still get your people scheduled like streamlined, but you don't actually need a human being to sit there and do that for you. You know what I'm saying? So
Totally. Yeah.
that's one of the things. Yeah, that's one of the things that it helps you outline. And finally, it does help you determine whether this is a task that you want to just throw off of your to-do list. Like, it's not worth my energy right now. This is not the place for this. Delegate to a potential future employee, automate again with like technology, some sort of system, or you have to keep doing it yourself because that's kind of like, this is the CEO task, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody can do this but me.
Yeah.
Studio, I have to be the one, right?
Yeah.
So I have that resource and I'm going to make sure to provide it to you guys
Awesome.
just because it's good to just get all of the overwhelm and all of the ideas out on paper so that you can really take a step back and really analyze who you need to bring into your business and for what reason.
Yeah, what you mentioned here with, is this a CEO task? Whom do you need to bring into your business? Previously, probably you were teaching as a yoga teacher in one or several yoga studios, and now suddenly you have your own online gig, right? Now you are the boss of
Yeah.
your own little company you're essentially about to create. So already this mindset shift, that's already great that
Yeah.
you're tackling this here right now. I think that's also a big one, bringing in that awareness.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say, because you kind of called that out, if that is kind of that's a big transition. You're absolutely right. So I still recommend doing the daily work log to get it all out on paper.
Yeah.
But I would maybe, if that was me, I would start looking more into somebody who can help you with like content creation and stuff, just because if you were maybe a part of a bigger facility and now you're kind of having to do your own thing and kind of brand yourself and, you know, bring your own people in under your own thing, it may be helpful to have like a content specialist who can help you, you know, get your ideas out and kind of map out a strategy for the types of things you want to put out into the world, if that's something that you're not used to coming up with already.
Yeah, yeah. Or also someone who, if you have already a little bit of content, who just helps you to bring it on several platforms. So repurpose content. If you're already doing YouTube clips, get some help to put that as well on IGTV, your Instagram TV channel, etc. So to make the most of the idea or of the message you want to bring across. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. Yeah, so we are all, I don't know how long people will have a look at that interview. Just for context, we are in the middle of the COVID corona crisis. Everybody has to stay at home to flatten that magical curve. And yeah, we start to suddenly work from home. And you already mentioned that you are a millennial, you are a child of that generation who's already used to work from home, to be more flexible and so on. But a lot of us have to catch up with that and need to adapt. Can you share some best practices? For me, for example, I'm also working a lot from home, and it all interconnects a little bit with fun and work. But are there some best practices to create space for work, but also have home time in your home instead of work time? What do you think?
So that's a good question. I'm telling you, even as a work from home veteran, there's always fun challenges there. Like, I have 2 dogs downstairs right now, and I'm like, please don't start barking.
I know, yeah.
But so some of and it's all very simple things, but all of these things when compiled can like really help your day very much. So the very first thing that I would recommend, if you're able to, is create a separate workspace from your living space. So what do I mean? Because you're in your house, right? So how can you separate it? If you are lucky enough to have a separate room that's not your bedroom, obviously that's the first place I would recommend working from. Now, I will say I've had previous living situations, like I'm in my home office right now, the door's shut, I'm in my zone, this is great. But I've had previous living situations where I think we were living in like kind of a loft space. I didn't have that luxury. It was all one big room. So even then what I did is it was like a small separate table, and I put it in the furthest corner of the room, separate from everything else. That way I had to physically get out of my bed to work. And sometimes it's as simple as that, because we get kind of excited. I know how it feels, like, especially for people who aren't used to being able to work from home. And we tend to choose the comfiest spots. And it's just like, ooh, I can work in my PJs from my bed. And I think everybody's kind of feeling it as this whole thing continues to drag on, because we've got to flatten that curve, right? But as it continues to drag on, working from your bed is not working, because the nap temptation is real, okay? So sometimes, as simple as creating a dedicated workstation, I've seen people do it at their kitchen bar counters. I've seen people work in their dining rooms, separate offices. I remember this old house we used to have, we had kind of like a linen closet, but it didn't have linens in it. And it just had like one shelf. So we would just pull a chair up to it, and you could put a computer right there, and you're in like a little cubicle. Like, you can get creative. Magic. You can get creative.
How do you call that? The acoustics probably was really good there as well for
I may need to record. Yeah, you're making me think I need to record podcast episodes in there. That would be good sound.
Yeah.
But just beyond separating your workspace, there are like some little hacks. So for example, if the space you dedicate to working, if it can face a window, always better for productivity. Like, pro tip, face a window if you can. A lot of people think it makes them like tempted to go outside, but guess what? Nobody can. So it's really just nice scenery.
Yeah.
But looking at nature, it actually does increase our productivity. Like, it's a measurable thing. And I'm geeking out right now, but it's very cool. Yeah. And then I would say it just depends on the type of work you're doing. So for some people, it's really good for them to time batch. So that just means like they're able to focus a bit deeper because they're focused on one particular thing a day, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So maybe Monday is your admin day, or Tuesday is your creative day. So this is the day you're going to write all of your content, so on and so forth. But irregardless of whether you time batch or you work kind of more traditionally free flow, I would recommend just setting boundaries for yourself. And just whatever feels good to you. Like there's no one size fits all for any of this, to be honest. But if you know that you have to get up and move your body a couple times a day, just build it into your schedule. If
Hmm.
you know that you're the type, like if you're sitting in your house, you're going to want a nap. I am a proponent for naps. Okay. So
Yes,
fit in a
yes,
20-minute nap because that's better than staring at a blank screen where you're not actually being productive anyways. So
yeah.
build in the nap. It's
It's
okay.
okay, and finally you can do it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nobody's looking at you crazy. It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah. Amazing tips. Yeah, I have now quite the shift of topics, because we also know that times are super uncertain right now. So economy is suffering, lots of
Mhm.
scarcity mindset as well, and people are anxious. But nevertheless, we want to show as well appreciation for our teams, employees, colleagues, but also customers. How can we still show appreciation when business is non-existent to low?
I love this question. Okay. So, have you ever heard of the five love languages by chance?
No. Maybe in
Okay.
German, which is my mother tongue, but not in, no. Tell me.
Okay. So the five love languages is this super incredible thing. And oops, can you still see me?
I can still see
Okay,
you. Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, just checking with you. So the five love languages is this super incredible thing. And essentially, the whole idea behind it is the fact that nobody receives love in exactly the same way. You know, we're all unique human beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there were some researchers who did this in terms of personal relationships. So, with personal relationships, they figured out that typically there are five categories, and that's words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, physical touch, and quality time.
Mm-hmm.
So, the whole premise of this is, you know, you have to learn to understand the people that you loved. So, whether that's like your spouse, for example, let's take your spouse, for example, you have to learn what their love language is, because if they have a dominant love language, and let's say that's quality time, then they're going to appreciate when you give your quality time more so than the same person would appreciate like a new purse or a bouquet of flowers, like a gift.
Mm-hmm.
So it just means that different people value demonstrations of love a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So some researchers took this same concept and they applied it to the workplace, which just like lights me up. I'm like, yes, everything for work. It's great. So what they did is now in the workplace, it's called the five languages of workplace appreciation. So it's really, really cool and it's really simple. I believe they have a quiz that can kind of help you diagnose. Honestly, you can just ask people because most people can tell you off the bat, yeah, I prefer when someone compliments me and tells me that I'm doing a really good job and they can see all the work that I'm doing. That's words of affirmation. Or
Mm-hmm.
somebody's like, yeah, I prefer when my boss gives me a bonus. That's a gift. Or an act of service when a coworker steps in and offers to help me because they can see that I'm totally swamped. Quality time, obviously, that's like I love coffee dates with my coworkers. Like if my
Uh-huh.
coworker knows that I love quality time, they will invite me on all the coffee dates, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then the final one is physical touch. So that one is a little bit more iffy when it comes to the workplace. I'm not going to lie. But everything from fist bumps to high fives, just like, those general displays of like, yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Those are the five. So when I talk to leaders and when I talk to teams, one of the things that we do together is we dive into what the dynamics in that group are. And it's always really interesting because one of the things that we as humans do, which is a mistake, is we assume that everybody is like us.
Mm-hmm.
Until we're a little bit more enlightened, we tend to
Yeah.
assume like, well, I like when people compliment me, so why doesn't Janet like when I compliment her? Well,
Yeah.
maybe Janet's appreciation language isn't words of affirmation. Maybe she actually prefers, she doesn't want you to tell her that she's doing a good job. She wants you to step in and help her because she's swamped and she's overwhelmed. That's what Janet would appreciate. But it's just a beautiful thing to bring to people's attention and kind of talk about,
Yeah.
because we all realize that we have our preferences. It's just something that we don't actually spend a lot of time talking about at work. It's really
And
interesting.
it is. And now we are a step more towards enlightenment because you cracked that code for us. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, coming to cracking codes, is there any other hack you'd like to share with people suddenly working from home?
Yeah, I think I would actually continue on with the theme of showing appreciation, just to give people like a couple of quick tips for how to do it virtually.
Uh-huh.
Because I realize that usually I do these like conversations and workshops with teams that are like together, but it's going to look a little different given COVID-19, right? So if I were to go down the list, I'll start with words of affirmation. Obviously, that one is the easiest to do virtually, irregardless of whether you're on a video call or you're sending a message or a Voxer or a voice memo or even a text message or an email. It doesn't matter. The great thing about words of affirmation is that it is essentially compliments and recognizing somebody for the good work that they're doing. So this is something that I think is really great. And the good thing is, oh, I almost forgot this. Most people are words of affirmation. So
Uh-huh.
that's good, because chances are, if you're giving someone words of affirmation, you may be right. And that may actually be their language of appreciation, because statistically, they're the biggest group. But obviously, that one's pretty easy to do even online. Just choose your platform and be genuine about it. Whatever it is that they're doing great, just recognize it. It's as simple as that.
Mhm.
And then the second one, let's do gifts. So if I was making a recommendation for how you can show your appreciation via gifts, the good thing is it's 2020 and you can deliver anything. And
Mhm.
y'all know Amazon is booming right now. All of our hard delivery workers are still out there making things happen for us. So it's as simple as figuring out what someone's going to appreciate. So if you have a client and you know what their favorite coffee shop is, buy them a gift card there. If you want to support even showing small businesses appreciation right now, like
Yeah.
that's a huge thing. And one of the things people are recommending is buy a gift card, even if you can't go now, just to show that you support them and you want to
Yeah.
help them stay open, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah.
Uh, so luckily for us, it's 2020 and it's really easy to deliver gifts. And the third one, acts of service. Again, because most of our work is able to be done online, it's as simple as figuring out what someone needs support with. You can ask them. Like, we're all human beings. So if you know that someone would really appreciate, just ask, how can I support you today? What can I take off of your plate? That's a beautiful way to offer acts of service, even when you have to do it online.
Mhm.
And then the fourth one, what's the fourth one? Quality time. So this right here, this is technically quality time. We're kind of working and playing at the same time, but it's
Mhm.
quality time.
Mhm.
I've seen people do everything from, you've seen it, right? Like the coffee dates, the virtual happy hours, so on and so forth. All of those are really creative and fun ways to have quality time with, whether it's your team or your coworkers or your clients, whoever it is. That's a really simple, easy way. And then last but not least, that would be physical touch.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one we can't really do.
We can't really do online.
We
No.
can't really do it. We're separated and we're not spreading COVID, guys. Social distancing.
Social
So
distances. Yeah. So all the
social
huggers
distancing.
out there, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What I've been doing, like I do know some people that like that is how they receive appreciation. I'm doing the best I can. So what I've been doing is like, you know, when you put in quotes, like I'm sending you a virtual hug,
Oh
or
yeah.
like you send them memes, like little cute things, like showing like high five. Like I just reinforce those images with them
Hmm.
to show them that like if I could, I would be hugging you right now. But
Okay.
you know, I
Okay.
love from a distance,
Oh.
6 feet.
Great ideas. Super cool, Tianna.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, is there anything else you would like to add to our little quality slash playtime to
I
close the
think
circle?
yeah, my final words, I would probably just tell people, especially if you're not typically working in the online space, at least in the capacity that you are today, right? I would just put it on everybody's heart that whether you are a solopreneur doing things all by yourself, or you have a team, or you're simply in a community of like minded people or colleagues or what have you, I think it's just really important right now that we're all extremely intentional about what we're putting out into the world. Like, I know that it's really tempting. It's kind of like a mixture of the scarcity mindset, and everybody's creating so much right now. Like, it's actually really loud in most spaces these
Hmm.
days.
Hmm.
But I would just put it on everybody's heart to be intentional with what you're creating and be intentional with how you're connecting with people, because even online, like, we can make these connections matter, and we can make them very deep and meaningful if our hearts are really just in the right place. We're not connecting just to connect. We're connecting from a place of intentionality and because we
Hmm.
truly care. So
Hmm.
that would be my final word to everybody.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, just one crazy idea that came into my mind, that
Mhm.
it also comes back to those 5 elements you've been talking about. People who like to receive or give help. Maybe it's also a valid topic right now. I think if you're just starting with teaching online, reach out to your community and trade in some free hours of your online course in exchange
Mhm.
for tech help, for example. So that already gives you so much buy-in and so many things off your table. But yes, as you said, intention is key, because we're really spammed with great content right now, but is it always
Yeah.
relevant? Yes, and thinking about forming connections and community work. Yes, yes, yes. Totally support that. Thanks so much, Tianna. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed this so much.
Thank you. And I will provide all the links to your website, of course, to social media, and of that one
Mhm.
document about the, how did you
Yes.
call it? I forgot the name, that tracker of,
The daily work log, and I'll
okay,
make sure that they have the right link for that.
perfect. Thank you so much, Tiana.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.